All right, still seeing episode 52 on Hxro Labs Live on the Rendezvous here, if you can get us to that live shot. Oh, okay. Well, here we are, guys. Welcome back. We're in the studio. It's Nick and I, RT, sitting here at the helm on Friday the 13th.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday the 13th. Bitcoin kind of rolled into like a ascending, broadening, or descending, broadening wedge on the 15-minute overnight. Failed to tag the 16.5, but I'm happy to report that for whatever reason, the $16,500 Wix paid out. So that's exciting news. I didn't see it on the index. I'm looking into it. Very curious why it happened before, but then price actually did end up wicking it, so it made sense. This time it didn't actually end up wicking, it doesn't look like, but they paid out. So I'm a happy boy today. And I've been picking up some shitty DeFi coins, adding to a couple little bags. I'm not convinced that we're rolling around, like we're going to roll over here for all coins. It does look like Bitcoin has a little more in store for us. So we're going to get into the dominance chart today, as usual. And Nick's got a few things we're going to look at. Lots of altcoin setups that he's seen coming into key throwback levels, bearish or bullish. So lots to talk about today on episode 52 to wrap up our week. And yeah, how are you doing today, Nick?
Pretty good, man. It's been a nonstop morning of calls, and being busy is never a bad thing in this economy.
Yeah, it's usually a good sign when the phones are ringing. I actually had a good call. This is an odd day because usually we hang out most mornings, talk markets, get a feel for what we're going to talk about, what we're looking at. And today we are literally winging it. We've each had our own looks at charts and our own calls, but we haven't actually connected ourselves until about 3 minutes ago. So for those of you watching, see if you can spot the difference on days that we are all on the same page ahead of time, days where we just roll with it. I was on the phone with BTC Jack Sparrow, a buddy of mine, who had some interesting thoughts, as usual, on the chart. So kind of helped me clarify a few of the things I'm seeing. Always a refreshing chat. And yeah, with that said, I think we'll start off with your charts, Nick, because I haven't even looked at Legacy today, and I'm always curious what it's doing on the back end of things as far as, what that says about driving the bus.
Yeah.
Dixie's not looking too exciting, still kind of riding this downtrend. But without further delay, let's switch over to our screens.
Let's get on the screen share.
Get on the screens. We've got Dave in the chat. SL, how you doing? Scott, good to see you back here. And Emma, as always, Chris Richards, good to see you all. Welcome back. Thanks for coming to hang out here on the Friday edition of Hxro Labs Live.
Yeah, so I guess we'll take a quick, S&P is going to be closing here in a couple hours. It's been not much volatility or anything going on, even though the VIX is spiking to almost monthly highs at the moment. Right, it doesn't look bad, right? We've had this initial surge, took new highs. I thought it was, really looking like a swing failure pattern. And it's found some support here at the 3,500 level. What if we see a pop into 3,600? I think this is the bearish throwback target, so keeping a close eye on that. I think we'll probably see a little bit of a pop at least to these range highs before we get the market closed for the weekend. U.S. dollar, it's not looking bright over at the U.S. dollar. Obviously, again, we're still stuck in this range above this 11,859 level. But what we're seeing right now, we love Wyckoff theory, so why not we use it here, right? You got a bearish throwback right here off the daily. We can clearly see, price has tried for the last 4 days now to clear this, getting a little bit of a bearish rejection currently off that. So until we see the market move above basically this 12,000 level, U.S. dollar continues its bearish bias, and then obviously the ultimate target to break will be that 12,100. Until that happens, risk on for now. And then moving over quickly, actually, I want to quickly bring up the XAU USD chart here because gold was sitting on this key, daily support level right now. It hasn't broken. This is why we always wait for confirmation, guys. Otherwise, you are shorting the bottom. Things look terrible, when it's a massive red candle. But sure enough, we did not break these lows here at 1850. Again, we're just stuck in this range. However this expands, we're going to be looking to the downside. We'd be looking for a retest of these multi-year resistance. If it turns support, it's going to be ultra bullish, right? Down there at 1760 to 1780. And if gold pulls above, this 1940, 1945 level, then this thing is about to rally, probably up to 2050, 2100. But I doubt we're going to see any of that in the next 2 hours. So let's turn our attention over to crypto, the market that never sleeps. Bitcoin here, we did hit this. We're running out of the resistance levels. I think that's the big story here. So draw this back out to the weekly, actually. Bam. So this is like one of the last weekly resistance levels right here between the 16.2 up to 16.5 right now. If we do smash this level, the next major daily resistance is at 17.1, 17 up to 17.3. So at this point, all you need to do is just set some alarms, at the breakout of the level or just before. I try and do it a little bit before, just so I have that time to get to the desk if I'm not already there. Candle structure on the high time frames looks good. There's not much to complain about there. And demand obviously extremely high, huge underlying bid on this stuff. Whenever we do, I think we will see a pullback soon. So we could see a swing failure pattern or something like this. This is another great point here. This is why you don't just blindly short when Stoke is quote overbought. It's a sign of strength when it's hovering above these 80 marks, right?
Yeah, so strong trending market.
Exactly. So it's not something you necessarily are looking to jump into reversals on. If anything, whenever this thing finally does retrace, it's going to be by the fucking dip season, right? So what could we see if we start to see some diversions? Well, maybe a stab up into this level, and lower high, and then we actually get our true retrace. We did run some past we back tested the past major retraces, and between 2018 from 2016 to 2018 on average it was about 32% bearish retrace in bull markets. Over the first half of 2019 to where we are now, it's about 27.5%. So we have yet to see one of these major pullbacks, basically since 10,500. It will come, but don't panic when it does. It's going to be a god tier buying opportunity. We're essentially waiting for that. And I think the coin to be watching today is definitely Ethereum. You can see we're kind of slowly trying to break out of this range. Your first resistance levels are going to be around that 480, 485, up to 490. And if we do see a move above these highs, that's going to open up our weekly targets that we discussed on Wednesday. First one being, probably right up around here, 515, 520 level, and then the real weekly block not visible up until 550, 560. Taking a quick look here at the monthly as well. Like the monthly chart looks fucking fantastic, right? You got that W bottom. The resistance flips to support. But I think, a stab up into this next month of around that 560, 570 level. That's probably the second target. And then if things got really fucking crazy, your next monthly level is going to be around, that 670, 675. But until we break this 480 level, if you're not already in a long, this is, it's essentially resistance that we're sitting at right now. So the play here is to wait for a break, long the throwback on a positive support, and then just ride this thing. It's going to be a great swing trade.
Yeah, I'm excited about ETH heading into the end of November, not the least of which because I have some Wix contracts that expire on the 27th of November. So I'm looking for a touch of 500. And what would really sweeten the deal is actually a close above 500. That would also do fairly well, and obviously still long on ETH. I'd say my exposure right now, for what it's worth, this doesn't mean it's optimal, but it is what it is. I've got maybe 28% fiat stablecoin, gross, I know, but I've been taking some profits and sort of like Nick says, waiting on that Omega pullback whenever it comes. I'm not even convinced it has to come like soon. I'm not saying like today, tomorrow, next week. But I'm just trying to stay disciplined, not rushing into the market. It's nice to have that base, lowers my volatility. I get 20%, some altcoins, 20% Bitcoin, 15% ETH. So I'm long and strong, but it's not like 2017 where I would just sit there like, 98% altcoins, and then like 100% Bitcoin. I try to stay a little more balanced lately. Really, really looking for ETH to continue its way. It hasn't really gotten the bid that Bitcoin has had. And so mostly just watching the ETH BTC pair. And that's something I want to talk about. I'm going to share some of the insight that I got from BTC Jack earlier on that call, because he has a slightly different idea of what he's looking for on ETH BTC. And historically, in the times we've hung out and chatted and talked charts, we often have similar ideas. And it's uncanny. I tend to be early. I tend to be sort of high. So if we're trying, I'm always high. But if we're trying to find a low to buy, I tend to get the first support. He's like, nah, I'm going to wait a little longer down here. And then historically, he's got a much better hit rate than I do. I learn a lot from him. So I'll share a bit of what he's seeing and see how it applies to what I'm looking for. And I put out my scenario to him. He's like, yeah, actually, that makes a lot of sense too. But his is a little more bearish in the midterm as far as waiting for a deeper dip on ETH BTC. So we'll look into that in a second. For now, I've got ETH BTC here. This is what I'm looking for. We might have just been intercepted by the pump chaser zone. I'm not convinced. Given what we're seeing on Bitcoin, I do think there's probably going to be a new high made before any real consolidation or pullback. And so this really will amount to sort of a bearish retest. And I still think I can get my bids at this higher low down here in the RLZ. Key support will change my tune a little bit as far as a larger play goes. I may look to skim some if we break this low, because after we make this and then we get that strong bounce with a higher volume node, this should be the bottom as far as my setup goes. And if we lose this low with any kind of daily close, then I may have to reconsider and look for something a little lower. Now, what Jack and I talked about this morning, which I thought made a lot of sense, he sees this wick low from over here. That's actually right before sort of the big end of year blow off top happened in altcoins. A lot of people don't realize this, but ETH was getting demolished, right, for months. Bitcoin was rallying, it was going nuts, and ETH was just death. Alts were death. Basically tagged this breakout level and then took off, and we got the big parabolic end to that year. Now, what Jack and I were talking about is, does this level need to get a visit? How would that look? How would it align with this lower trend line? And then that gives us a sense of maybe when those two levels intersect, which is actually right here, as you can see on this chart, kind of in this area. Now that would be sort of May and June. So that's a little later than I was hoping or thinking. But we'll see. I mean, I've got key support here. That's what I'm looking at. This nice hammer, some nice volume. I think there's a chance we pivot here. But again, historically, when I talk to Jack and he's always like, no, I'm thinking a little closer down here. And then I'll get washed out. I'm like, oh man, you're right. And he's like, I know, right? So we'll see. That's another scenario. For now, I am looking here for the higher low. I think this is really strong support. We get ETH 2.0 cooking up, all that stuff. But I'm not opposed to being wrong, taking my licks. And that's why it's so important for me to wait for this higher low. Because if I start getting excited and buying up here, I can't take the same kind of size. And if I do, then I have to risk to this, and I'm taking a lot of risk. It's not out of the question that this low is not the bottom. So I'm moving sort of in my usual way. So I'm going to take my longs here, switch a lot of Bitcoin over to ETH. If this low gets lost, I'll probably be back into Bitcoin, or if it's showing signs of a top, back into some more Tether. And then I'll be watching this chart a little closer, because ultimately what you want to see to get a continuation, I mean, this to me is a big accumulation range. So I don't know that we need to have a big weekly W to confirm anything. I think a touch and go is totally in the cards here. But if you do get a weekly W, that's the God tier signal. And then you can really, yeah, then you can get aggressive. So typically I am looking for weekly Ws, but again, because of all this, I think the accumulation very well could be done. So that's why I'm being aggressive on this first tag. And then of course the higher low potential here, but not out of the question for that to get washed, and I just have to look a little lower. Now, what I'm really watching, and this is going to be so cool if this happens, because it's right in the middle of this circle we've been talking about, and that's just going to make me feel super special if that ends up being the pivot point for Bitcoin dominance, because we rallied up here fast, which to me is actually kind of a good sign. I think meandering up to that level with a little more strength is a little more concerning, whereas if we kind of blast into it, maybe we're getting up here, we're a little exhausted, all that stuff, which makes sense because you look at Bitcoin. I mean, I don't think it looks exhausted yet, but it's certainly vertical. So tends to be the ends of moves are the most violent and aggressive and upside and all that stuff. So look, we've got a high, we've got a lower high. We got rejected at the trend line again. And if we break back down in any way, shape, or form below this level, then it's back to risk on for me. And all of that talk of some of my Tether and some of my more stable coins will go out the window, and I'll be back into risk on. Right now, I'm not sure. There's been no confirmation yet. So I am watching and waiting. I did buy a small collection of a few altcoins today. Some you've probably heard about if you've been watching Messi Stream on Sundays. You know, NFY, ROOK, Ensure, Safe2, Haka. I bought a little Messi index this morning because he was talking to me a little earlier. He said, look, these are some ones that I like. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm finally going to just bite off a little. So because we're at this pivot, it's not confirmed. So I'm maintaining my risk off overall, but figured I'd pick up a little because this is my setup and I hope it comes in. Now, if I'm wrong, which is very possible, we've got a descending broadening wedge on the higher time frames, the weekly Bitcoin dominance. This looks pretty ominous if you consider what the fourth tag of a trend line often means. So if we did break up from here, an extension up into as high as the 72 range, back up to these highs, like that's not out of the question. That's probably what it would look like if Bitcoin just took off and ETH BTC lost these lows and all that stuff. So I can't rule that out. I don't even know that I would put probabilities on it. It's just certainly a possibility. So yeah, I think it's safer to wait, and that's why I'm waiting to deploy like a little more aggressively. If we break down from here, I'm like, oh my God, yes, let's go. But short of that, I have to keep this in mind. I have to consider that this is possible and that I may have to eat shit on some of these little DeFi bags that I just picked up, or, you know, get real ballsy and just hold through whatever comes, but it's not really my style. So that's sort of my overall on like dominance and Bitcoin and ETH and that slosh between the two. You know, that's what I'm watching. I mean, we're no doubt at a pivotal spot with this level. And, you know, you don't have to see a fast rejection. So I'm not too concerned that we went up for a second test. In fact, that's the lower high I was looking for. So it's like it looks perfect, but until we get that confirmation, I just can't go too crazy. But I am certainly starting.
Patience always pays.
Yeah. And, you know, and I might kick myself because if we break up from here and I'll be like, oh man, I talked all this shit about waiting for the trend to confirm reversal. And here I was putting in, you know, some bags of altcoins even before it confirmed. But, you know, not perfect. And if this ends up smacking, I'll feel great. If it doesn't, I'll have to journal about it and be like, damn it, you didn't follow your exact plan, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, there's some decent looking DeFi plays. I'm bullish on it. And like you say, with the negative yield shit, like, it's just hard not to take some positions up against this high here, even though it's not quite the trend reversal I want.
Basically, nobody's been talking about like what's DeFi's killer app going to be. It already exists, right? And it's going to get the killer product is yield, right? Positive yield generation, and then the next big thing is going to be taking what we've seen in terms of developments in DeFi and creating structured financial products from those, and then pushing that out to the legacy markets, right? So yeah, I think that's going to be the real growth strategy, and the first teams that can A, realize this, and then B, execute on a beautiful UI and UX. Like, you know, a good team takes complexity on the back end and simplifies it on the front end. And to date, you know, most projects fail at that. But I think crypto is getting to the point where we're about to see that. We're seeing, you know, incumbents from the legacy side who understand UI, UX, like they've deployed products to billions of people coming into crypto. The crypto backend technology is at a point where, you know, the majority of the solutions are in place. And now that we see such a push on interoperability, it's going to make integrations into more legacy products and platforms much easier. So yeah, I think 2021, 2022 is going to be the year of DeFi. Anybody not in it is going to be in massive amounts of salt and tears as DeFi balloons to $1 trillion market cap over the next couple of years. Very confident it's going to happen. But quickly here, you know, I've had this fucking uni chart open for the past, you know, 4 hours. I guess I didn't put the information out there because I wanted to capture it myself. But the Uni governance call did take place yesterday morning. I'll share some insights from there and why I think it's a shit show. But from a from a financial point of view, number go up. And the reason why is because the liquidity subsidy will be ending in 4 days on the 17th. Essentially, LPs have been getting rewarded Uni tokens with no vesting on those tokens, so it's free dump, right? And that's why we've seen such intense sell pressure for this past month, right? That's it's going to be removed. So this token should continue to go up. From a technical perspective, though, do you want to be longing right here? No, you do not. This is the resistance. We're coming into this key bearish throwback at 3.8, but buying the dip back down here around 3.2 or right around there. That's what I'd be looking for.
This is the area where I wish I was long.
Yes,
certainly want to have been long, but no, definitely can't enter long here. I look at that chart and I just think, damn, missed opportunity. But that's old news. That's kind of like not the way to think about trading. I look at that chart and I say, oh, it's bullish. Okay, show me the next time it's a good idea to be joining in that fun.
Yeah, so I think something on.
Where am I setting my alerts today, Nick?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you're going to be setting your alerts at 3.7, obviously. So a little move into this bearish. These are the range highs that I do expect will get swept. We're kind of just coming into it a little bit here, but if we can see that up thrust into the bearish throwback level, you're probably going to get some selling here. It was a pretty dramatic break, right? It's been untested except this little thing to here. But this true block up here at this 3.8, 3.9 level is untested. So I am expecting some sellers to jump in there. But again, we understand that in 4 days, basically the tap is going to be turned off. So it's going to be a huge reduction. The only one of the concerns here is that it could free up $1 billion worth of ETH. The question then is where is that going to go? Is it going to get reallocated to other pools, so like Sushi Swap and things like that? That's a possibility. Could they lock? So when these guys locked in, a lot of these guys locked in their ETH and stuff onto these platforms. It was significantly cheaper. ETH has had a tremendous rally, so there's could be some profit locking in. So there could be some potential sell pressure on Ethereum. Or scenario number 3 is that some of that ETH moves to lock in the ETH 2.0 deposit contracts.
Yes.
Yeah. So 2 of those situations definitely good. It's all good for the Uni token long term, but in the short term, we need to see how these funds get redistributed into the ecosystem. And then the other big takeaway, looking back on my notes here, is that the Uniswap governance is a complete scam. It's completely centralized, 0 incentives to actually participate. And this is like a problem of most governance systems, as I've looked at them, is the centralization of them. And due to the biggest problem of any democracy and any governance system in crypto is participation. With voter apathy, it's been a huge problem for as long as democracy's been around. And it's the same thing in crypto, right? Participation is extremely low. Like, go on the forums. Like, this thing's worth $700 million, and you struggle to even get a couple hundred views on some of these huge proposals that affect almost $1 billion market cap. It's just the apathy of crypto users is fucking mind blowing.
It's kind of funny, yeah. I mean, I owned some governance tokens. NFT was one. They did some, and I got a pretty sizable position from back when they were a block party. Yeah, and I didn't participate. I mean, it's not even because I don't care. I guess I just have faith in the community of holders because I know them fairly well. And I'm like, yeah, whatever you guys think is, I'm cool. Yeah. But all those proposals passed kind of pretty lopsided anyways. But yeah, I mean, I get it. But it's funny because you're right. The amount of value locked into these, and then like the percentage that people that show up to vote.
It's sad.
It's kind of crazy.
And like the Uniswap team members say they're not actively participating in governance, but they can delegate their tokens to a third party as a proxy. So it's the biggest fucking joke I've ever heard. Like,
we're not voting, but we are using surrogates.
Exactly. And like they want us to believe that there's no insider collusion or like talking with their friends or anything about that. Essentially what it means at the end of the day is that this is one of the most centralized governance systems, and if they don't like your proposal, it's not going through. You will get vetoed down. And they had no good answers for the risk of exchange. So centralized ownership and governance. Exchanges can accumulate large positions in governance tokens.
That's what I was just going to ask. So, I mean, we remember the Steam debacle from earlier in the year.
Exactly.
Right, where Binance and Tron and Justin Sun, anyways, like pulled, and Huobi pulled a lot of their Steam off exchange to go and basically lock in some governance stuff to help out Justin Sun. Now, that was a huge issue, but then those tokens were locked. As part of participating in the governance. They had to lock them for whatever amount of time. I think it was like 7 weeks or 3 months. Do you know the nature of the governance on Uni? Like, does Binance, if they want to participate, do they have to go and lock a whole bunch of Uni up to make that vote, or can they just kind of flip in and out?
No, they just have to delegate their voting power. There's no lock to it.
Okay. See, because that makes sense, right? The way Steam did it, they're like, yeah, you want to vote, you can use your stake to do it, but you have to lock it in. There's no flip flopping here, and that actually made a lot of sense to me. So the fact that for Uniswap you can just kind of like hold the tokens and that gives you access, that's interesting and kind of scary. And it actually makes sense why we figured there was probably a lot of centralized interest from the CEXs picking up a lot of Uni. So exactly. Because it's
they're
putting up a lot
to control it as much as possible.
Exactly, or participate in it and just scoop up the volume from it.
Right, but to date, both their proposals have failed to meet quorum, and it's very expensive to deploy governance proposals on Uniswap. So it's like this negative feedback loop in their governance model. And like I see someone said, decentralize later. Yeah, and like I agree with that for the most part from like a development point of view for a product, but for governance, I just don't see how that's going to be possible when
they distribute the top at $27. Yeah,
exactly. Like, well, the guys, they already own everything. Like, what's their incentive to distribute further? Right? They've already accumulated majority shareholding and control. Like, there's no incentive for them to distribute that out. Right? Like, why would I dilute my control? I don't see a path to decentralization there. But I do think we're going to see more governance models come into play here. And they're going to be incentivized governance models. Like, that's the future. And I think that if they do it right, you'll get a much higher user participation in the governance model. And that is, what I think could be the short-term solution. Again, this is all a giant experiment right now, really, right?
Yeah, very, very beta.
Yeah, exactly. Even like that's the quote from America. It's been like a 300-year experiment. Or 200, whatever the fuck, how old that America is now. And same thing here.
I get dial-up vibes from blockchain technology right now.
Yeah.
Which is actually why I'm so bullish on it, because I'm just like, oh, we're that early. Cool.
So I'll quickly jump back into the charts here. I know we don't want to get too philosophical on things, but I want to quickly talk about ZCASH, because this thing, the halving is literally days away. It's finally started to look really good on the daily. So we had a really nice inside bar set up here. But boom! Oh my God! Look at that support off that. So there's your stop loss if you're already long, right?
Boop. We passed on our long like a few weeks ago. Remember that? We were like, we weren't quite getting the R that we wanted on it.
But luckily, I FOMO'd in last night once this actually broke up. So this is my play at this point. So we're coming into this little resistance. This is your daily range, right? So if we do see some, a little bit of a throwback, I think this is going to be something you want to buy on a dip. And if we do see expansion above this range, where are we headed? We're headed up here, guys. So if you're not already long, right, wait for the dip. Like I said, we're coming into this resistance level. Oh, oopsies, wrong one. Let's see the price range. There we go. If it's not far, like you're 2.5% here. So compared to your downside risk of so it's not great, 2 to 1, right? So you don't want to be taking that trade. It's better to wait for the dip here. If we do see like support,
post-halving dip,
exactly,
that's what I'll be watching for.
Happens every time. Yeah. If we do see it come back to like that $63 and show support there, I'd be interested there. And once we do close above this range, these are the upside targets that I'd be interested in. So fantastic upside. Your risk downside is going to be like 5. So 3 to 1, and then obviously price discovery after the fact. So that's basically what I'm thinking on Zcash. Again, there's the halving. There's the fundamental driver for this to accelerate.
What is Zcash trading at right now? It's hard to see on the little side screen I have here.
$65.
Didn't that shit used to trade for like $500?
Yeah, I think
And
when
like,
it launched initially, it was around someone bought it for
like
3,000.
Yeah, like late 2017. I swear I remember looking at it. I was like, man, this looks like $500 Zcash.
Yeah, like Zcash is a symptom of high inflation. Like this is the course of all high inflation coins is this chart, right? And then once things again though, this looks so fucking
It
eerily
does look
similar
good.
to Bitcoin, right? Like you could,
Yeah.
people, privacy is going to be front and center over these next few years as we start seeing a shift in the legacy space. But right here is the real target, right? This $100. $130 mark. If Zcash can get back into these levels here and get them, whoopsies, and they get reclaimed as support. So say we come up like this or something, this is going to be your ultimate buy signal. Why? Because look at the range expansion that we have to fill here, right? Like this is going to be your real play. And again, this is like some high time frame stuff. But this entire range right here, what does this look like, guys? It's fucking accumulation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think we were talking about that on Wednesdays. Like those are the kind of bottom formations that's what washes out participants, right? So, you get down to the bottom, right? When did that bottom come in? Or arguably like, December 2018, even there was like a low, it wicked down March 2019. And people are saying, oh man, it's at the bottom. It's like, yeah, maybe, but has it reversed its trend? Are you seeing an uptrend again? And then the answer obviously is no. And so now from March 4th, 2019, somebody who's been holding that, it's now November 2020. And how many of them do you think have now switched to something shinier and sexier? Quietly, though, somebody's sitting over here accumulating. Here's my knock on Zcash, and I'm just going to be straight with you. I have used the dark web a couple of times. Always Monero. Monero is just fast, easy. It's the go-to. I've never seen Zcash hardly even offered on any of the places where I would assume privacy coins are best used. So what's the deal with Zcash? Where do you use it?
Yeah, so some reasoning behind that is, Monero's default privacy by default. With Zcash, it was optional. You had to actually manually select if you wanted to use the privacy features of it. And again, a lot of the time it just comes down to, Monero had that first mover advantage. And so far, there's been no compromises to public knowledge of the encryption on it and the traceability. So I think that goes a long way for advocating for it and building legitimacy around it. And Zcash, it's kind of had like drama with Zuku and like the founder rewards and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, who wants to hold a token or use a token that's constantly being depreciated due to high inflation? Monero doesn't have that really.
Fair.
So
okay.
It's just a better token for so many reasons. To quickly answer AM's question about stop losses. So yeah, I think a lot of people make the mistakes of setting it, at support, right? In reality, you need to be, giving yourself a little bit of room. So in terms of, this Zcash is a great example here, right? So if you're long right now, and I'll take it from current levels, this is your downside risk, right? Back to this weekly support level, which does carry over, guys, right? This is a huge level here at $48, sorry, $50, $51. So if I'm long and I'm thinking, this thing's about to fucking go, I'm putting my stop loss probably under this block, and I'm going to be giving myself a few percentage points just to avoid any, lack of liquidity fuckery. So a lot of the time, a swing failure pattern to clear those stops, that's what you're trying to avoid here, right? There would obviously be heavy buying pressure here. So a market maker really needs to be, trying to fucking slam this down. But a lot of the time what's going to happen, you're just going to get that little sweep and then, right fucking back up. This is your confirmation. This is
to engineer liquidity. Yeah,
exactly. So, I try and give myself, if I'm just on spot, 10%, something like that, right? Obviously I could hurt if you're on leverage and stuff. So yeah, your stop loss is definitely going to come down to, what your leverage setting is at for sure. But generally I try and give myself a little berth between this to avoid this. But yeah, right now your stop loss would definitely be around, like say $45 or something like that. And if we're closing below this level, that's extremely bearish. Like I would be looking to get the fuck out of Zcash. So, but right now, again, we're holding the level $47, $47 to $51 is the key support. So you don't want to be setting your stop losses in the key supports. You want to be setting it, slightly below, but also low enough to avoid these swing failure liquidity grabs. I don't think we're going to see that in the next 4 days. I really don't. We've spent such a long time consolidating at this base. There's just, the market's turning bullish. Like the sentiments are starting to change to the upside. We got the halving. I think the time, like this, if anything, tried to sweep it here, right? On this previous week's candle, it failed, fucking hammer candle, and then here we fucking go. So yeah, I think that's ZCASH, and that's why I like this trade so much, guys. I fucking hate ZCASH. I hate all high inflation coins, but at the end of the day, there's a huge fundamental driver. The TA lines up. I'm agnostic, really. But again, once we clear these levels, like there's huge fucking upside here, right? Like look at this shit. And like the real monster plays, like it's going to be this stuff, right? So
yeah, do you want to see my chart? I've been cooking up a little ZCASH gain 50-50 while you were talking, because I thought, okay, like that's still a powerhouse. It's not going anywhere. Inflation's about to get cut in half.
Yeah.
Come look at this 50-50 target over here, John. If you want to switch over,
Johnny
baby, hit me with a chart swap.
ETH kind of pulling up here.
Oh, okay. You know why? Yeah, Rendezvous still showing me the thumbnail for some reason. It's not showing me the live shot. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So producer hits confirmed. We are looking at my chart. This is just something I just drew up quick. You guys know I love the gain 50-50 stuff, the vibrational signatures of assets. For 114 bars of downside, you would expect a vibrational signature to take back half the move and half the time. So 57 bars, you got this little, so yeah, if we break out of here, it's probably not the kind of trade I would take, just because it's like, this is a weekly and it's, but hey, I'm not opposed to trying it out. If we get a close above this little level here, I don't know who's tapping away on that keyboard, but I'm going to ask you to mute. Super loud in my ear. So yeah, break above here. I mean, I wrote this up for ETH BTC. This is pretty extreme, but that's what it says. That's the potential. I mean, getting 50% of a retrace at some point is actually not uncommon at all, as unlikely as it sometimes looks. So yeah, we'll see what this pennant says. I'm going to actually keep an eye on it. Let's say I'm going to set my alerts to $75, slightly different view than you've got. And I wanted to comment on that stop loss question, because that is actually one that I struggled with a lot in my early days. And I've got this set up for RVN. It's sort of an educational setup drawn up on replay mode here. Sorry, it needs to be cleaned up perhaps a little with the sizing, because it was on a different screen before. So who asked that question, first of all?
Not AM.
Yeah, not an AM, bro. So first of all, you will get stopped out often. And that's part of why we start everything just saying manage risk, so that when your stop loss hits, I actually got stopped out today on this trade here. It didn't even hit my stop, but it invalidated. It was a little day trade setup that I have from last summer. 2 30-minute candle closes back inside of yesterday's trade range, triggers it, and then you wait for it to come retest the highs, and you take a short. I actually averaged up a little here, but then 2 30-minute closes back outside of that range, and it's invalid. So I close it. Lost a couple $100. Like, that's the nature of trading. And actually, it does look like it's going to come and hit what was my stop. So I feel validated by closing it with my invalidation. But first and foremost, be ready to be stopped out quite a bit. In fact, a lot of my trades, I'm looking at 50% hit rates, but at 3-to-1 RR, or in this case 4-to-1, I end up okay. You got to think long term with this stuff. Never try to go for it on one, because a stop loss can be very stressful. So with that out of the way, this is why I love the RLZ concept, okay? Because this is when a lot of people got excited about RVN. Again, this is old. This is like May 2019. But this is a setup I traded live, and I went back after and just wrote it up because it was like the perfect trade as far as other things I look for. So you get the burst on volume after some nice downtrend, which is what we've seen in a lot of alts. Then, you don't rush into this, because if I long up here, then my stop loss is going to have to be like at these lows, which, as you can see, got washed out. If I wait a little longer, stop loss at the lows. I don't have any reason to think that this is reversed yet. But if I play this replay, you can see as it came down into this reload zone, I haven't bought it yet. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for some signs that it's going to reverse. So I look at the MACD here, and I see that the momentum on this downslide has actually slowed. See the MACD is making higher lows. That means the velocity of these down moves is slowing. Right here, actually, as I'm speaking right here, this is where the reversal on the MACD confirmed. It also confirmed in price. So now I have this bullish divergence confirmed. I have bullish market structure confirmed. I'm down in this reload zone. And even after this strong breakout on the 4 hour, I don't have to chase it. Because if I do, where's my stop loss? Like here, right? So I'm actually waiting once that comes in for it to retest this level. I mean, you can even get cheekier and drop its own little RLZ and then start entering down in here, which is something I've learned since. You miss a little more, but you get even tighter levels. And so having now my stop loss, I guess, would be at this low here as it is on this chart. And that reload zone does look like it actually just got its fill here, that other one. So part of the art of stop losses really is about patience. Because at the time, and then as you can see, obviously this trade worked out. That's a big part of why I saved it for educational purposes, because it just had all the parts that I wanted. Now this can be done in like a picture. So I could save this, happy to share it, maybe even on Twitter after if you guys want to just kind of dissect this. But this is just what I call a 3-step setup. And it's drawn up here, but it's basically where you just have your location, RLZ, you have your divergence, MACD, and then you have your bullish market structure, and then you set your bids, you measure your risk, and you ride it to like a 4-to-1. So I hope that helps. And so as far as applying that, let's say to ETH, I get excited, and now I'm buying ETH up here last week. Well, where's my stop loss? It's either all the way down here, or it's right up here, and I just got triggered. So this level down here, I imagine, is where a lot of people will say, oh, you know, Bitcoin broke out again. It's going to the moon. ETH is getting wrecked. I'm going to just sell it. Well, that's actually my bid, right? So I'm trying to buy where a lot of people are going to be like giving up on ETH, saying it's going to go to new lows. And so having the right location for your entry takes a lot of patience. I have to risk missing it. As you can see, the pump chaser zone here might have intercepted me here. So that's the biggest takeaway I've had for the last couple of years, not in the AM, bro, is really just waiting for patience so you can get in at the right entry. And of course, that comes with risks of missing. But if you can size appropriately and you can enter patiently, your stop losses will hit less. They will sting less when they do hit. And your RR will be high. So hope that makes sense, guys. Yeah, Emma, I can fire that off for you later. I'll tweet this out after, and I'll clean it up a little. I have a better picture of it, but yeah, it's a nice little setup, and you can just get to learn it. And like anything, I wouldn't rush in to risk, you know, a good 1 or 2% of your portfolio on your first trade of it. But get into this right here. You get your paper trade. You can connect your paper trade on TradingView, and you can play with it, right? You could do 10 of these, even if you use like a 15-minute chart. That way you can have more setups in less time for practice purposes. Use a lower time frame. Now, just there, sorry to rant here, Nick, because I feel like you got something bubbling up that you're going to get to. But just before we go on, I've got to pull this up. We have not talked about this on the air yet, but we do have a contest going on right now. Not really a contest, more of a giveaway. It's pretty much free. So I'm just going to announce that because it's a pretty dope prize. It's actually one that I would like to win, but I'm obviously not eligible, so that's fine. I will deal with it. We've got a special guest coming up in 2 weeks. And as part of the lead up to that, where is it? Here it is. We've got this giveaway. I'll pull it over on the screen. So we're actually giving away 1 year premium TradingView subscription. There's no real catch. All you got to do is retweet this tweet with the sexiest TradingView chart of your choice. Some people, I can tell, just like screen grab the thing they were looking at and put it out. That's fine. I think if someone like draws up a really sexy chart or has like some level of effort or creativity or, you know, whatever, I'll probably push them a little higher up on the list of things we're drawing from. But we are going to basically just draw from the people who retweet and follow on Twitter, TradingView and Real Hero Labs. And this is sponsored by TradingView, so they are giving it to us to give away. And one of them is going to be on the show with me in 2 weeks. I believe it's the 23rd, that Monday. So he'll be here to chat and hang out and talk charts, and that's the day that we'll announce the giveaway. So if you haven't already, check us out on Twitter at Real Hero Labs, and you can find this tweet from November 11th. Probably retweet it soon. Looks like we got 26 entries so far. So I mean, look, 1 in 26. Those are pretty good odds for giveaways. I usually pass on like random Facebook and internet giveaways because like I feel like I'll just never win. But somebody's gonna win this. They're gonna have a year of free TradingView Premium, which is like $1,000. So
yeah, I think it's like $1,100 if you don't catch the Black Friday sale.
Yeah, and that's actually part of the timing here, because the week that they're coming on to chat is their Black Friday sale. So if you don't win this, you'll have an opportunity. I actually bought the Black Friday sale, I think 2 years ago for a 2-year sub. So I paid a lot, but it was like
It's worth it. It's like 50% discount.
Yep. And I was like, yo, like for 2 years, I'm certainly going to be using it. So I might as well buy the max deal. Anyway, so we're giving that away. And this is Yaks. I don't know. It just ended up on my screen. But shout out to Dave Millett. Sounds like he just closed with some decent profit. Really nice pump here on Yaks. Don't know what it is, but it looks sexy now. Not buying it here. What do you got, Nick? That was a long rant.
Yeah, no worries. I'm looking at the DeFiPerp chart right now. So, we didn't quite, I was really looking for this retest of down on the support. Didn't get it. That's okay. Right now, this is an inside bar setup. So very similarly to what we were just talking about on ZCASH. And how you trade these is very simple. If we see a close above the body of this candle here, so that'd be 2109, it's confirmed bull. And generally how I trade this is I'm looking for a measured move out of the inside bar range. So, let's say this range is about 10.5%. Well, all I do is, whoa, look at that. It lines right up with the fucking range resistance. What a surprise. So yeah, this is going to be my upside target. What's this telling me? It's telling me that the DeFi projects have some room to increase in value. Number will go up. So if we see, again, this is 4 hours on this close. It's not confirmed just yet, right? This is essentially resistance. But in over the next 4 hours, when we do see close, if I see it above this level here, it's going to give me conviction to continue to hold my DeFi longs. And we brought this up again, like very similar setup, right? This former support level flips back to support, right? And that's what we were looking for here. Quickly back to the DeFi chart over here. Same thing, right? Like a lot of these markets had this very similar structure. Didn't quite get as low. It got bought up because again, it's an index of all the coins, right? So it's, anyways.
Yeah, how they add that, with like with Uniswap at the top 100.
Yeah, it's based on the top 100 LPs.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'm excited about that. As I said, I picked up like 5 different DeFi shitcoins today. So as the beginning of my foray back into alts, but
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, so I like the trade here on SNX. We called this out on Wednesday, literally when it was up here saying don't fucking buy, shit's going to get wrecked. Sure enough, wrecked back down the support. But if you're long off this is exactly what you want to see, right? We've come back down, retested this range. It's confirmed that it's support. So your stop losses, right, are going to be right below the range, right? If you're already long, and your targets, obviously, number one is going to be resistance. But what you're really looking for is the range expansions from this range, right? So and your upside targets, we've already listed it here. 14%, 36, 50%. So even if you're not trading this range right here, and if you weren't able to scoop up a buy off support. My advice now is to wait. At this point, you've already missed a pretty large bounce and move. Yeah, like this is the downside risk that you're taking now, right? Probably a little bit lower because your stop is not going to be in the support block, as we were just saying. So 40% downside risk for possibly capturing from here, 15. Like that's not worth it. That's bad. Don't do that. Wait at this point for this resistance to get cleared and confirm support, and then you have much lower risk trades. To reach these upper side targets right now.
And there's a lot of that going on.
Oh yeah,
that's that exact looking setup. I think Solana, like there's a lot of coins that have that sort of resistance, and if we break above that, instead of feeling like you've missed something, start to this is why I love your breakdowns, because it just helps me even remember like, okay, like I haven't missed anything. I've actually just cleared a key level and we've got upside for days.
Yeah, and same thing here with like Link. It hasn't triggered the trade yet, right? But it's this nice. Large ascending triangle. This is a 3-day chart, so maybe I should take it down a little bit. Daily looks okay right now as well, but let's go down to 4 hours. That's what I like for the intraday stuff. Helps you get those entries, the sniper entries. But yeah, you can clearly see you don't want to be longing anything above $13, right? The God tier entry right now, in terms of a throwback on lower time frames, is probably going to be down here. You've already seen support off at once, so anywhere between like that 11.5 up to 11.8 region of support. So you can see now we're in a contracting range, right? And what I mean by that is this. So this is the full range right here, right? This is this is the market range, and it's been contracting, right? It's getting tighter, tighter, tighter. Here to here, here to here, and now we're here to here, and now it's even contracting even more. So what does this tell me? It tells me that this shit's fucking coiling, right? This is kind of gives you some insight into when a move is going to happen. Generally, it's going to run out of room, right? Boom, 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 and then it's going to make its decision. Yeah. Either it's going to fucking pop up hard, and we're about to go retrace into this say $16 level, or if we pop down, it's either going to get supported at this 11.5, or you're going to see it. So this is a nice volume node here, right?
That's what I'm looking at. Yeah, that POC right away jumped out.
Yeah, so around like $11, 11.2, right? But if this gets consolidated out a little bit more, maybe a false break, that would be perfect right in there. So into 11.3, 11.5.
What's the date on that?
Well, this triangle can extend all the way out till December.
No, but like where you just drew the intersection with that trend line, I always love to see, because trend lines give you a sense of time sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this will be 28th.
November. So we're looking maybe near the end of the November. And when I get horizontals intersecting with trend lines, it's actually part of why I was looking at this particular time window for the Bitcoin dominance, was because of that trend line. And sure enough, it's like end of November. Here we are, mid-November.
Yeah, and like even while we've been talking about here, ETH has been trying, it made a new local high there, 475. So very close to breaking this range. Essentially what you just need to do is just set the alarm at 476, and then set an alarm here at 465, and forget about it.
Yeah, enjoy your weekend. And that's a wrap. Have a nice weekend, guys. No, it is so important, I think, for me, especially to use alerts to be able to get off of the charts. It's very easy. And Scott and I talked about this on stream before, Melker, and he was basically saying, he's like, alerts, set and forget. And part of being a dad and being as busy as he is, he's actually become a better trader, because he has 20 minutes to find out what he wants to find out. Sets, forgets, and moves on. And I am guilty, because I sit here so often throughout the day working on stuff. I am definitely guilty of staring at charts sometimes. So key levels to keep an eye on ETH. Now, is that polls? Because I was just about to pull back to my screen, but if that's Polka Starter, then I want you to just keep it up, because I want to know what the hell I'm doing with the Polka Starter that I don't own yet.
Yeah, it's a DEX platform built on the Polkadot's ecosystem. Has really strong backing, a lot of good network effect behind them. I know they're going to start launching the product and a bunch of projects listing on them starting next week. I'm really this looks really good. I think even from here, first we're coming into this little resistance right now, right? It's using again classic Wyckoff throwback. There's nothing special here, guys. But the first resistance to clear is going to be that 25 cents. But my first target for this is going to be up there at 31 cents. Full disclosure, I'm an early investor in this stuff. I think I got it at 2 cents. So I'm still up like 10x on this. But again, I think DEXs are going to have a fantastic run going into next year. And I've been trying to get exposure to as many solid teams and DEX-based platforms as possible. And this is the first one to be doing it on the Polkadot's ecosystem, which, as we've talked about previously, in January, the parachain auctions are going to be going live, and I think we're going to see a very wide markup across the Polkadot's base layer protocol as well as the Polkadot's layer 2 solutions, right? So that's kind of like I'm anticipating much higher prices through January once all this stuff goes live and the Polkadot's ecosystem can actually function as intended as an interoperability solution. So yeah, pretty excited for that. And I think the chart looks really good. Your stop loss for this, right? It's just probably below this this is a 12-hour chart. It's probably below this little breakout here of this range, back down there at 18 cents. And I think it's going to be good for 37% upside. Well, maybe it's a little bit less if you wait for confirmation. So yeah, I'm still looking about 30% upside, even once this level confirms, right? So in terms of like a market structure, and not to toot my own horn, but I've been crushing the Uniswap TA side of things across multiple assets here. And if we see this turn to support, very similarly to what we were just talking about on all the other major caps, well, this is your signal to get fucking long, right? This is going to be your first target. And then, the real target of capturing real upside it's going to be up here at 45 to 47 cents, right? So yeah,
and this is where we go back to that conversation around investor versus trader, because if you're just saying, you know what, like I'm bullish on PokerStarter, I want to have some for the next couple of years, and you're so sure that it's going to eventually get to certain levels, then it doesn't make sense to necessarily wait for a reclaim of that level as much as perhaps if you're just trading, you're saying, look, if I wait for that level, I can capture 40% upside after. If you're trying to hold it for 2-3 years, I mean, I don't think today's the day because it just popped. It's always the day you want to buy. It's probably not the first and best day to buy. But just, keeping that in mind, because I always think back, like a lot of people watching are looking to trade, learning to trade, and other people are like, hey, what buy, when buy, where go? And, while we don't do financial advice, I can certainly see the potential for somebody to look at that and say, well, you're basically saying wait till it's a higher price to buy it. It's like, well, no, but therein lies the difference between trading and investing.
Right. And like our goals when we're saying wait for a price level and buying higher, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like take Bitcoin, for example. A lot of retail is not going to FOMO into this market until it's above 20K. Why? Because they're looking for certainty that there's going to a higher probability of continuation, that they're buying into a bubble, right? That's the basic mindset of most people. And like investors, for example, they're more than happy to buy at higher valuations. A lot of the time, like we deal a lot in the low cap pre-sale stuff. And when you're talking with big funds with $200 million AUM plus, they aren't interested in 100K allocation. They're not interested in a project, even if it's fucking amazing. They got the team, they got the finance, like all the product, the idea. There's just no room for them.
Call me when you're worth 20, so I can have 10% at 2 million.
Those guys are more than happy to pay higher valuations, right? And so, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of those looking at pre-sales and early stage projects right now is in the DeFi space is the god tier fucking alpha. It's what people should be focusing on for the reasons that we've been talking about in the weekly newsletter. We'll plug that right now.
Yeah, let's check it out. I read it yesterday, last night after we tweeted it out. I was like, pulled it up. It's really good, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I really appreciate your writing.
Yeah, like once fucking people figure out that the play here is on solving the negative yield and creating positive yield for all these people that don't have access to anything, it's going to be the biggest rush and of new users into this ecosystem that we've ever seen. Like, if the light bulb will go off in people's heads, I guarantee it.
Yeah, and I think part of it is the ability, like you say, that clean UI UX, that custody, insurance. Like, there's a lot of missing pieces. I think it's still early, and it could be a narrative or a scenario that's years away, but it's a 2020s a narrative. This is the decade, I think, where a lot of this stuff is gonna develop. Now, if you want to flip over to my screen real quick, Johnny, I'm just gonna do a quick plug on the newsletter, because Nick, you write this every week, and I know that a lot of people watching don't actually read it. It's not a long read. It's free, so it's not like this is a sell, but you put it out each week. It's got a nice bit of higher time frame views on coins. Obviously, you write a newsletter on a 15-minute chart, and before you publish it, it's invalid. So some really nice look at weeklies, and you kind of have your gem hunter section at the end. So I am a reader. It's free. It takes me about a 15-20 minute read a week, and I've really enjoyed reading it. Now, real quick, this is somebody mentioned OGN. I think it was maybe Timea basically says, can we please apply the RLZ technique to a coin that has pumped hard? And so I was like, and she mentioned OGN. I was like, okay, cool. And this is why, for those of you who maybe heard, silly things like stop losses are for pussies. Well, I traded OGN in the spring right here on the daily. There was basically that same setup we just talked about on RVN, where it popped, it slid into the RLZ, and I got a really nice trade out of it. It was actually my first big trade of the year. And then I got one more nice trade out of it. And then this happened, and I just got out, and I haven't looked back. And you can actually see here on my weekly chart how terrible it would be if I was just like, nah, I'll just hold for later. I mean, what a waste of capital. What a waste of time. Let's just say I closed at a key sport. I think it was a little bit above that, but 74% drawdown while Bitcoin's been rallying. God, I mean, you got to learn how to manage risk and take these trades. And so I'm going to actually erase this ink. But yeah, this was the setup originally. I mean, really nice, clean little bounce. And then it just went crazy. I forget what this announcement was. I think it was like a Huobi listing. But Let's pull off that ink and let's go look at what we're dealing with now, because we've got another potential setup coming in. I would be sitting here, and maybe I should be. I don't know. I don't have any attachment to OGN. I just traded it. Maybe I need to start looking at it because this looks decent. The weekly looks terrible. Like, I'm just going to say, first and foremost, I don't love coming in and trying to trade off the first sign of life on a weekly. I find a lot of the bottoms on these things take many weeks to come in. So even though I may miss a move up, there's a move down, a move up, move down. So I'm not too excited about this given the weekly. Like, thinking back to what we saw, for example, on like ZCASH. I mean, that thing's been in a weekly accumulation for a while, right? A lot more energy pent up. This thing could just be a bounce. But for the sake of argument, let's go to the 4 hour. And yeah, I mean, you can see the RLZ tag already came in, kind of front ran this bullish throwback. And one of the things that you've talked about a lot, and it's the idea that, like, in a bear trend, there's nothing more savage than the counter trend rally, right? So it's like sell, 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 sell. Everyone wants to catch the bottom. Oh, they missed it. Get in. I'm going to miss it. And so you get these really violent counter trend rallies, often into some kind of resistance from before. I don't know if the bottom is in for this, but to me, that's a perfect example here of on the pop earlier this week. If I had it, cool. If I hit it, I mean, I think arguably, even if you're really watching these charts closely, there was probably some kind of setup here on the hourly where you get some kind of bullish structure here, and it's like, oh, okay, grab the RLZ and then go, and it did. But the nice thing about these is they're fractally in nature. They just go again, the markets. So you drag it to the new high, RLZ tag. I would have missed this. I'm more of a sweet spot type trader, maybe even a 786. But this is not done yet. This does not mean it's going to new highs. So if it's here and there's something I like, I'll take it. This one at this moment is not offering me anything I enjoy. I think maybe, up into a little short RLZ up here is quite possible, where it's just going to do one of these. Kind of an exhaustion exit, and then it just continues to do its thing. Because look, guys, I mean, as much as I want to call bull on alts, and I am definitely buying some, this weekly, which is the strongest time frame in crypto, it's probably the most important one to pay attention to. Does this weekly scream bull to you, Nick? Not really.
Not until it gets tested, really.
I mean, it looks like a really cool opportunity for a reversal, but on the overall, this weekly does not scream bull. And I guess I could just quickly compare that to something like Link. I don't even know what the weekly looks like here, but this weekly down here, that screamed bull, right? It had much time for accumulation. It broke out. March 13th came, washed it out in a really gross and interesting way. That was probably just an RLZ tag as well. Yep, right into that. And so, I mean, there are bullish setups on weeklies. The OGN one, just probably not one of them. Now, we've got a few requests. We are at the top of the hour. I don't think either of us are in a huge rush to leave. We got a meeting in about an hour, but let's take a look.
Rush. I have a call in 10 minutes.
Oh, you have a call in 10 minutes. Okay. All right. It's time for rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Okay. We're coming in hot with the Aeon chart, which I actually longed for reals because it came into this RLZ that I always talk about, and I said I would, so I did it. They have their halvening, or it's actually like an 8th inning event. I think their inflation drops. We talked about it on Wednesday, so I won't go into it too many details. But look at my squiggly. This is my squiggly from the other day, and it's like to a T, guys. So that makes me really cool. But more importantly, it means that I'm in slight profit because I think I bought, I don't know, 430, something like this. So my bids have hit on Aeon. I have alerts here that basically say new lows, get the fuck out. I may even try to look for a stop loss here, but I haven't placed my stop loss yet. And that is somewhat of a no-no. On leverage, I would never do that. But for a spot position, I'm not as worried about it. If I get this alert, I'll just go like, fuck, and I'll have to cut it. But for now, if we get this, so this is all I'll say. If we get this, and then we do break out, and we have that new whatever market structure, my stop loss will become this low. Okay, if we don't, and we just kind of keep fucking around down here, well, then I don't have my market structure yet. So for now, my alert stop loss is new lows. And that's how I'm playing Aeon for the time being. I don't think it's the sexiest name out there as far as like things we should be, of all the names, but it's my baby, and I'm buying these lows.
Yeah, it looks good. I share a similar view on that. I know we reviewed it on Wednesday on the weekly, and not much has changed in my perspective of it. I'm not, if I didn't catch the weekly support, I'm not interested currently where it is. In terms of like where I would be interested, yeah, if price moves above like this like 092 level, I'll be interested because that'll be the first time that we've actually seen a bearish level get broken through. So once we have that confirmation, I'm interested, and we'll be targeting this 0.15.
Yeah, and we have to keep in mind too, when you guys request coins, you should specify Bitcoin pair and USDT pair, because somebody commented last week, they said Nick always charts on the USD pairs, and I lately have been charting on the BTC pairs because of the sort of pivot narrative that I'm seeing on dominance. So just be clear, guys, on which one you want. Aeon on that weekly is parked in the RLZ, by the way, which I love. So it's definitely in a location that I'm interested in, which is why I'm long. But, we'll see how it goes. We got a few other requests here. So for rapid fire, what have we got? Sometimes singles. Singles is one. I'll fire this one up quickly. I think I probably have some old ink on it. Paul J, actually, who I believe is here with us today. He had an interesting setup he found on this earlier in the year, which I really liked. It was actually up here. The nature of trading. So I forget what I lost. It was probably like a 0.25%, 0.5%, and you just move on. So good learning moment there as far as like there's no guarantees. Now, it has broken this key support, which I was touting earlier in the summer, saying, wow, man, that's like generally a decent place to be buying things, is at the bottom support. That support's gone now. There's some crazy buy volume that just came in on this one candle, and it's since lost that as well. So a lot more of that wait and see shit from me. I think the daily did just kind of print possible structure, although the wicks on the right side, are lower. So typically, if you're looking for a double bottom, you don't want to see this and then this and then breakout, because it's a lower low. So typically for a double bottom, I want to see sort of like the right shoulder be a little higher, look like boobs. But anyways, I think this. Yeah, but I mean, hey, there's something there for a shorter term play. Get us back up to maybe this old resistance. I mean, that's a trade right there. Can't go wrong with that. I mean, if you were to snipe that bullish retest, risk to the lows, take it up to old resistance, VPVR, no, that's like a 2x. So pretty sick. Not exactly what I'm looking for right now, but I could see if someone's asking about singles, what they're seeing. I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, finally on my side, CompUSD. It looks good on the weekly, really. It's very clear setups and how to trade this. Basically, if you're long off this, your stop loss is going to be below this weekly candle. It's kind of formed some support off the body a bit, so that's great. So, if anything below like $92, I'd be pretty concerned on that. Otherwise, this thing has room to rally up to like 120. It's a range resistance. It's the bearish throwback here. I would expect a little bit of a throwback at that point. So what would I be looking for? Well, probably something like this. So say we continue the march up to 120, and this comes back down to the this nice little volume node that we're forming here around like 110 or so, off the resistance level as well. Get that higher low. I think, and we smash through it. Well, that's going to be really fun because there's no real major level up until like 170, 140 here, right? So yeah, going to be a lot of upside. This would be probably like a 40% trade off your entry, and then up to here is probably closer to like 100, 110%. But yeah, like this kind of just speaks to the possible reversal or strong bounce in the DeFi space. But again, a lot of these tokens are still under these bearish throwback levels. So on higher time frames, technically still have the bearish bias, but on shorter time frames, there's definitely some bull momentum.
Yeah, there's potential. For anyone who's wondering, when to sort of really start to deploy, obviously we got the risk on window that I like to talk about. But it's W's, like I keep talking about, but on the weekly. And that is torturous, right? Because in that sense, to see those form, you're probably talking about February, March, April, and then we're talking about another major rally in altcoins in June, May, so Is that something you can wait for? Can you sit through weeks of bullishness and people telling you missed the bottom? Because, there's also the chance that you did and it just rallies. So, but I'm looking at these weeklies and I don't see a whole lot that I love on that time frame. So when I talk about anything I'm trading right now, it's not as much for a big long-term park my bag forever, although I'd like to do that. And if we don't lose the lows, I will. But it's more for like, how do we trade this current little move? Now, somebody asked about hot. If you do have to go, Nick, let me know. I can maybe like, I don't know, sign you off, and then I'll fire off a few more alts here. We got some pretty good numbers asking for stuff. What time is that call?
3 minutes.
Okay. So let's flip back to studio real quick.
All right.
Bye to Nick. We'll see him out, and then I'm going to continue on.
See you to the door.
Yeah. Up you go, sir. And yeah, I don't know what else to say other than have a great weekend. Nick, guys, we will keep going. He's just got to run to a call. We are a little overtime, but I've got a little while till our big old meeting in a bit, so I'll stick around.
Awesome, guys. Well, my signing off comments is don't fucking long Ethereum right here. Wait for the breakup, right? Wait for the confirmation. Ride it to, probably around 500, 520 on an overshoot. And with Uni, it's fucking moving up hard here, but coming into that resistance at 3.8. At that point, I'll be definitely buying the dip. Obviously, down at 3.2 is the god tier entry. Other than that, just wait for confirmation and let's have a good weekend. I think we're gonna have a strong weekend here, as long as the nothing fucking crazy happens, a black swan event or something. Other than that, things look good.
Dodging the black swans one day after another. Yep. All right, I appreciate it, brother. I will catch up to you in about 45 minutes on that weekly call. Until then, have a great day. And I'm going to flip back to my chart now because it's time. Oh, it just got super quiet on my headset. All right. Tell me if you guys see my screen. Maybe the producer. I'm getting a weird thing on the rendezvous here. I'm not seeing the live shot, but once my screen is up, we'll just fire through some alts as we wrap up our week together. I've got HOLO chain, one that I haven't had here for a while. Let's get the watermark back on the screen here for those of you who are interested. You're live. You can't hear me. Okay, perfect. So for whatever reason, I can't hear the producer. Rendezvous is being a little weird today because it's Friday the 13th, but I am live. So excellent. Let's take a look at HOLO chain. Now, this is one that I find really tricky to chart on the BTC pair, and that's because it is a tiny cap. So, I mean, I'll just show you guys what I mean. It's just kind of boring. It's like 3 sats, 4 sats, 25% gains on like 1 sat flips. I bet there's a strategy there for just like buying 3, selling 4, and making 25%. But the bids and the ask sides are pretty big. So I much prefer to chart this one here, and that is the request from Ichiban over on TradingView. So let's take a look. I mean, it's in location. And actually, I like this one more than a lot of them. So you see the weeklies we talked about, like OGN looks a lot like this, right? It's just in a death spiral. And yeah, it's having like a good week, but that's it. There's no real support. HOLO chain, on the other hand, kind of put in that bottom, rallied up, has come down, and is now just kind of hanging out in this RLZ. So I actually like this a lot more. I'm feeling, generally much more confident about the look of that base versus some of the others we've looked at. So yeah, not a bad spot to be starting to think about longs. The full setup, perhaps not here yet. Let's pull up some momentum indicators. Yeah, we've got bullish divergence, which means price came in to make its low, but the MACD had already flipped long. It's nearing oversold levels again after breaking out of oversold down here in the Willy. Right here, embedded in oversold. So yeah, I actually kind of like HOLO. Now, I haven't heard a thing about this project in a while. It's kind of an interesting DAG project from what I remember, and the CEO got outed for doing some crazy dominatrix stuff, which I'm like, who cares? No big deal. But I think that kind of like stained and made it a bit more of a meme coin for a little while. Hope she's well. And the coin, yeah, for what it's worth. Now this is like accumulation range, so it could just chill here for quite a little while. I would say, if I wanted to be very, longing things that are actually moving, probably set an alert here. Look for confirmation that it's ready to actually make some upside and then buy the next dip kind of thing, whenever that comes. For what it's worth, that's what I see on hot. Now, what is Bideo? Sounds like a bidet. Butt wash. Let's take a look over here at bid USDT on Poloniex. The first exchange I ever traded on. One that I haven't traded on since like June 2017 though. But yeah, just chilling. I don't see anything either exciting about it or even that bearish. It's coming into this low. Let's say right here. You can see some support starting to form. So again, really nice location. And you won't hear me say this often, right? In the middle of the summer, I was like, get out, get out. All coins look like shit. I mean, they're mooning, but the highs are in and careful. Now is actually not a bad time to be taking some little nibbles, as we say over at TRI, off of these lows. If you're thinking long-term, if you're thinking I'd like to be an investor, long-term trader, definitely some interest at these levels for me from that perspective. Swipe. I probably have a chart on here. Let's take a look at Swipe. This is one that has actually burned me 3 times now. So full disclosure, I'm down on my Swipe trading this year, and that's my fault because I missed it. And then, I was late to the party. I think Swipe was really sexy with its Binance listing. It was going to the moon, and it probably still is, but as is the nature of markets, our human exuberance often exceeds reality. And so you have what's called corrections. Say, okay, we got really excited. We said it's going to be huge, which it probably will be someday. But we went too far too fast. And then we found out, oh shit, there is no underlying demand. There is no underlying bid, even if Binance is huge. We had to come back down. Even if you're like a massive investor in this, like, some whales, they want more, right? They're not going to buy it up here. They're going to sell what they have. They're going to dump it out. They're going to shake you out. And it's worked great. A lot of people have left and exited, and now we're back into this accumulation range on Swipe. So this is another one that is looking good. Oh, yeah. AJ's asking on TradingView what our handle is. It is Hxro Labs, basically as it is, HXRO space labs. So check us out on there. Not a ton of trading ideas in there lately. I did a lot this summer, and then the alt market kind of cooled off, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to wait because shorting altcoins is a little more tricky. And even that's past now. So that will heat up a lot more once I kind of see these higher lows come in and then maybe even a breakout. Then it's going to be like, okay, we're back. But mostly like when this breaks down. If this does break down, there's going to be lots of setups because everything kind of looks the same. So for Swipe, let's zoom in and see if we can find something here. I mean, pretty sweet mini setup here as far as like if you were watching this thing closely, right off the key support, double bottom, breakout, retest, and go. So there was a trade in there, and as you can see, many people took profit. They've already closed it for the next trade, sliding down into this RLZ, tap, tap. Not too much exuberance off of either of those taps, so I would expect further retracement, but we'll see. And this is actually a level where I'd be starting to get interested again. And even if it doesn't come right away, I mean, you're getting in at an area where you can cut your bag. The nice thing is there's key support, but then look, there's this 88.6 right over here, this purple line. So that's actually going to add another layer of stop loss protection. So I would probably be looking to get the fuck out below 69 cents. Good old 69. Always offering a little bit of that big friendly round number value like 420 and all the rest. So that's a 19% risk on position with fairly ridiculous upside based on the zoomed out view that we had. So definitely some room to be taking shots there. The longer you wait, the lower you get in, the tighter your risk can be and the larger size you can have. So that's why I tend to be pretty chintzy with these. For BNB drop by Binance every week. Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. So AJ says he's getting free SXP dropped by Binance every week for BNB. I guess that means you're staking BNB or something. So that could be just that ongoing sell pressure, like kind of like food coin-esque. So no comment on that. I'm not too sure about the FA, but it sounds like AJ's got a pretty good idea of what may be causing this ongoing sell pressure. And if you look at the high time frames, it's just not quite time to certainly not to like take this first bounce as like we're back to alt season, because as Nick says, as I've been saying, a lot of these are just bullish, or excuse me, bearish throwbacks, and they happen. They happen during downtrends, right? I mean, this is a daily, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 days of very decent upside. And if you got caught up in all that excitement thinking you had found the bottom, you got washed. And that's how market bottoms form, right? They wash out all the participants. And then finally, when there's nobody left, nobody's interested, they moon. So careful with these guys. I think there is something to be said about this key support. As an investor level, I'd love to get long off that. As a trader, it's coming into a level. We'll keep an eye on it. I do know that Binance has acquired SXP like Swipe. I just mean interesting. So an emission, a drop, yeah. So you got to keep an eye on these things. Sometimes the inflation on the back end of a coin can give you an idea of, how much sell pressure there will be. Now, this one actually launched today. Let's take a quick look at CFI. CyberFi token just launched this morning. My group was invested in this in the pre-sale. Nick has a little, I've got some, our producers got some. Like, this is one that we've been keeping an eye on. It's actually doing quite well today. I think the pre-sale was 60 cents. So it's actually doing quite well. Almost got myself into a free position, which is great. And then I think there's some more releases over the next few weeks. And now we're just going to be here supporting the project, keeping an eye on it. So CyberFi is pretty cool. It's going to be automating DeFi stuff, optimizing yields through automation. So keeping an eye on this one as it shakes out its initial investors. Even if you're bullish on something, I think a lot of the times the earliest investors will take some profits initially just to kind of take the risk off the table, and then they can focus and, if anything, even support some buying down below with what they sold. So as that process takes shape and as that shakes out, we will see if this thing forms a new trend. For now, it is just consolidating between $2 and $3. CyberFi. Now I've got an ocean long that's still just kind of kicking away, boring as ever, away she goes. It's a 4-hour trade, so I don't expect it to be done this week. My stop loss is at break even because it did tag this 5 level. It's part of this bot setup. So if it comes back down, moving on, free trade, no harm, no foul. Didn't quite hit stop loss to trailing. I could have technically put a trailing stop on, probably would have triggered by now. But what I see is a potential that this is this little pump chaser zone right here. And so I'm certainly not rushing to cut it. I've got an alert right here. And, may even just like if this low breaks, I may even just cut it and take a tiny bit of profit, because at that point, I figure my stop loss at break even will hit. So that's how I'm playing this bot setup. It's just chugging away. If there's any other requests, you guys hit me up. I'm basically done. Okay, look, I see XRP. XRP is an interesting one. I do want to take a look at that. But I might need to use a different one. Where is my futures template? Sorry, guys, I'm going to flip through a few charts here. I think I closed it. Let me get my futures out, because I actually was trading XRP the other day. I think I even have some bids live. Let's go see. Should they be here? Oh yeah, it's coming off nicely today. That's good for my bids because they're not full yet. But I don't know where I put that. Pink. Anyways, wow. Okay, what? Okay, what's going on with XRP? It looks like 26 cents on the spot pair. Oh, it's because it's a 1 minute. I'm a noob. Okay, let's take a look here. Yeah, so I actually have bids here. Down in this RLZ. So I'm trying to get bids here because I want some size, and I'm on futures. It's leverage, blah, blah, blah. Can't risk chasing up against these highs. But I mean, look what's really taking shape here on XRP, on the futures anyways. We've got support and we've got resistance. And once that breaks, I mean, this is pretty good as far as like the energy that's building up in here. So this breakout could be violent. If it breaks out right here without me, I'm going to be tiny sad. But if it dips one more time into that support, I'm going to have some. And I could always long it on spot, but as far as my leverage account goes, I'm not long yet. But yeah, when this breaks out, man, it looks pretty huge. And they announced earlier this week that they're going to be doing some buybacks, that they have been doing buybacks. I think something like $63 million worth of XRP they bought off the market. That's Ripple that bought it. So they basically said, yeah, we're going to support the market. In other words, we're going to stop selling from our treasury and start buying. They're trying to put a bottom in their coin. I think that's really bullish. XRP tends to just moon when it decides to. But keep in mind, I say tends to just moon, that it has done absolutely nothing for quite a while. So, wouldn't hold your breath, but when it comes, it's going to come hard and fast. And yeah, I mean, it's not in a terrible spot if it breaks up from here. Like XRP. I don't like XRP, but I mean, I like the chart. Shoot, might have missed my long. We'll see. What else do we got on our list here? ENJ. Oh, okay. It's over here. ENJ. I don't have any ink on the tether pair, but as you can see, well, don't love this one as much. You can see this sort of like big, fat, bearish market structure on the weekly. Probably needs to unwind a little longer. I'd say, we've tagged the 618. So if there's bulls out there, they're permission to join now. I think getting into this sweet spot is possible. This is a weekly, obviously. So I'm thinking high time frame, which probably should during a big downtrend, because you will see lots of noise on the lower time frames, but the weekly will really tell you when the major trend shifts back to bull. And it hasn't yet. You can see very clearly here. This is resistance. So take one out of Nick's book here. If this bearish throwback breaks and we get it and we flip it into resistance, there is going to be an opportunity to trade that. It's very unlikely that this level will break north and not get a retest. And that retest will give you a chance to long it without risking all the way to these lows. You can basically just risk even to maybe this little pivot here, 7.9%. You want to take it right to the lows, 22%. It's kind of how you want to skin the cat, right? So yeah, let's get through this level before we start getting too crazy. 14,672. I'm going to actually put an alert on that because I don't mind. Hunt for SR flip setup. This is one of the reasons, actually the main reason I love TradingView Premium. It's because I get to do unlimited alerts. I think Pro Plus I was capped at 10 alerts. So the difference between 10 and 300 is worth every penny. That's my quick plug on Premium. All the alerts. Now, moving to DUSK. Oh, DUSK ate shit the other day. I know, because I was watching it and I had to cut my bag. Yep. So I was pretty hopeful on DUSK. It was one of the ones I took a little nibble on earlier in the week. I said something along the lines of just the tip, and I meant it. And I think I bought somewhere in here off of the 886, and I risked to the lows and they broke. So I'm out. Tight, short, sweet. Not too exciting. I think I was like 88.6. Risk to the lows. Yeah, so I like ate shit on about 11% of that, and I was trying to get up, up into here, get like a 3-to-1. So DUSK, DUSK just needs some more time. Last time the bottom took this long to come in. This time it's probably going to take, certainly longer than this. What you're going to want to not see is any more downtrending. We've now swept this low, which is a good sign. Do we have to come and visit this bottom breakout area? Who knows? What I want to see, if I'm going to get long again, is some kind of proper low, and then a higher low, and then that breakout. I think I can be patient on this one. Not in a big rush. And this is another one that I cut. Like, I was long on DUSK up here. And I remember when I cut my bags, it was 700 sats. And a lot of people were like, oh, man, like, you're missing out. You just sold the dip. And I was like, okay, cool. But like, that's my trade setup. And it's times like this where you can look back and be like, thank God that I used stop losses, right? Try to date it. Don't marry it. When you're trading assets, especially altcoins, man, they're super volatile and the rugs do come out. And if I was still in my DUSK bag, I would be so dejected. I wouldn't even be thinking about buying here. I'd be like, oh, I just can't wait to get out. And that's why you have a lot of hard times breaking back out because people sell. So yeah, because I took the hit there, I lost some money, but I now have a lot more otherwise than I would have that I can now redeploy when a new setup comes. So yeah, guys, I'm going to start wrapping up here. We do have a big meeting to get to in about 20 minutes, and I'm sure the producers are sitting there like, yeah, we're going to use the bathroom before the meeting. So have a wonderful week. I'm going to flip back to the studio. That is my screen share. If I missed you guys on any of your requests, feel free to hit us up on Telegram. You can tag me in there. I'll be around this weekend on Twitter as well at randomtask555. You can follow us at Real Hero Labs. And yeah, just shoot those requests. We're around a lot of the time. Won't say all the time, but we are around often. And I love looking at charts, and often the ones you guys tell me to look at. It's where I get a lot of my trade ideas anyway. So let's work together on that. And stay tuned. Monday, Franklin Fitch, the head of marketing for NFT Protocol, is going to be joining me on the stream. So we'll be talking everything NFTs. He's actually our guest blogger on www.hxrolabs.io. Is that? Oh my gosh. Let me make sure. Yeah, hxrolabs.io is our new website. And the NFT Market Pulse section, the author of that is coming on Monday to hang out and talk charts and, just talk NFTs mostly. So stay tuned for that on Monday, guys. And then Nick will be back Wednesday as usual with myself. We're going to start doing duels on Wednesdays and Fridays. So with that, I think we're all saying goodbye here in the chat. So have a wonderful weekend, guys. And whatever you do in the meantime, always play from a position of strength. Take care.